Right now, I want to talk about flow. This is the interaction between two people. This is the tempo, the chemistry, the give and take that happens between two people when they're interacting in any kind of way. And the two main kinds of flow that I want to talk about right now are the flow in two partners dancing and the flow in two people talking, okay? So these two flows have a lot in common. And you'll notice that the same 5 things mess both of them up. And this summer, while taking a dance class, I realized that these 5 things messing up dancing really can be applied to other relationships in general. And so I want to share those with you. So the first one is a leader asking too much of the follower. Okay, so anytime you're expecting too much of anybody or wanting them to be something they're not, it's going to mess things up. The second one was a follower not being able to meet the expectations of the leader. So sometimes people will ask you to do things that you probably cannot do. And you'll think about whose fault is it? You'll think about, am I trying hard enough? And if you are trying hard enough, which I hope you are, then you should not blame yourself in that moment. You should realize someone is asking too much of me, and that is not something that I should feel bad about. Okay, so the third one is to open up. So in these dances, sometimes people were kind of uncomfortable with dancing with guys sometimes. They would feel kind of thrown off by that intimate space. And they just didn't let themselves open up. And this would of course mess up the flow. And in your own relationships with anybody, if you are not being open, if you're not being your actual self, if you're not saying what you really think, you're going to mess up the flow every time. So the fourth one is probably my favorite, and that was listening. Anytime someone didn't listen in the dance interaction, they would just miss the whole moment. Someone would be pushing their hand in one direction, asking them to go in that direction, and they wouldn't understand because they weren't listening right. They would just miss the moment when you aren't actually paying attention. So this is also applicable to any human relationship where you are not really focused on what they're saying. You kind of care more about being understood first rather than understanding first. So try to remember that. Seek to understand first before being understood. And the fifth and final one was, of course, just enjoying it. Anytime someone in the dance interaction wasn't having fun, it just didn't go anywhere. And of course this is true for other relationships too. If you don't feel that special enjoyment when you're dealing with them, whether it's business or a friendship or intimacy, if there's not a fun there, it's not going to go anywhere. So those 5 things, if you do them, it will help your dancing and your relationships especially. And they are, again, listening, opening up, not expecting too much of anybody, not letting other people expect too much of yourself, and of course having fun. Alright, just remember that when a relationship comes together in a beautiful way, it's always a sharing. It's always something that builds on itself to create something more beautiful than either person could have done by themselves. It's a sharing, not a taking or an extraction. Alright, thank you.